Okay, so let's start with some short story. This is a story of computer creator, some entrepreneur who wants to build a new computing device. Our entrepreneur did required research and knows that the most important thing for the computer is selecting some processor, like selecting some CPU vendor and then maybe model that meets the criteria of his computing device. So he selected the processor that should work for his application, for his requirements, and wondered, okay, how I can build computer. So he decided to go to the processor vendor and ask, sorry guys, how I can build my new computing device. And he gets the reply that typically he have to obtain the reference design, which for various vendors is called differently. Sometimes it is called customer reference design. Sometimes it is called reference validation platform, so CRB or RVP. So they answer that entrepreneur have to obtain this reference design and then based on it do the modification to meet the requirements of target application. And in that way, he will obtain the schematics of the target computing device that he wants to build. So our entrepreneur hired electrical engineers or some company that can do the modification, and did the modification based on reference design that he gets from the CPU vendor to create required schematics and all what is needed for building new computer. Then he sent that to some company that did the soldering, like building everything, like creating the PCB, placing the components, soldering everything to the board, and they returned the prototype of the unit. And this computing device, they realized that this computing device does not boot. So entrepreneur reached the CPU vendor, like complaining what's going on, this platform not booting. I did whatever you said, and it doesn't work. So vendor said that the initialization code that was delivered with reference design will work only for this reference design, and the same code would not work for some custom modified computer. And to create a special initialization code, which is called BIOS. He have to go to independent BIOS vendor who will help him to create dedicated BIOS for his device. So dedicated initialization code for his device. Our entrepreneur was very surprised with this situation and decided to educate himself. And he understood that most of the processors and most of the sophisticated hardware components sold on the market for economic reasons are quite generic. They are not tied to given application. This is because of vendors want to sell as much as possible, and because of that, during the bring up, during the power on of the platform, there is need for specific initialization of the components of the hardware, sophisticated hardware components for given application. And this initialization code is called sometimes BIOS, sometimes UEFI, sometimes firmware. There are many of those names, but in general, it is some initialization code. So he understood that this code is needed. So he was very patient and he go to independent BIOS vendor and sent inquiry to get a quote for his design. After very long convoluted process, discussions, signing NDA, reading and analyzing proprietary licenses, he received non-recurring engineering fees, so how much he have to pay for the engineers of the independent BIOS vendors, and he get the information about what kind of royalty fees he have to pay for each hardware platform he will sell with the BIOS that will be developed for him. More to that, he received information that he will get just the binary component and he will not get the source code. So in future, he will have to get back to the BIOS vendor and ask again for the same, for the modifications. So you can realize what kind of feelings could have our entrepreneur, and he was very discouraged by this situation. So what he did, he go to the Google and started to look for alternative solution, and he found Dasharo.